All right, let's just jump into it. Broker podcast. We're back. Today we're talking about profitability. Primarily, we'll talk about team leader, broker profitability, but all this stuff actually connects with every agent as well. So we've been through this for last year. Some people, some team leaders, some brokers have switched gears. They've blown up their teams. They've done a lot of different things to kind of deal with this current market and the reduction in sales. Some are trying to grow their way out of it, but there's also a lot of people that just haven't done anything yet. And doing the same old thing is not going to find profitability in 2024. So what, Derek, what is your take on the first thing everyone should look at that's kind of trying to find a profitable business in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, number one, it's knowing your numbers and taking a look at your transactions and figure out where they came from, especially in the last 6 months. So for me, in the past 6 months to a year, I knew we were coming into this market with rates rising. So I knew we had to really start building relationships with attorneys, family law attorneys, probate attorneys. And it's not by accident that the 2 listings we're putting on the next couple of weeks, all estate sales. So it's growing that market. When I was looking at, okay, how can I replace X amount of transactions and where are those going to come from, looking forward into the market the next 6 to 12 months.
100%. You got to go where the market is. I mean, we did it in 2007 and 8. A lot of people went. I personally also went there. I know you went there for a while too, as bank-owned listings.
Yeah, bank-owned sales.
I've had a ton of agents ask me, like, how did you do it? How did you get into it? I want to get in the next go around. Every time I get asked that question, my answer is always, don't do it. Be on the buying side.
Yes.
We were keeping to paying for all the expenses, utilities, cash for keys, etc. We were keeping 2 as a listing agent and paying out 3%. I'd be on the buying side.
Yes.
So maybe that's working with investors, but you got to go where the market is. Certainly, you're never going to find profitability if you don't have sales.
Correct.
We can talk about the expense side all we want, but if you don't have sales, it doesn't matter. You're still not profitable. You could cut your expenses to 0. You're still not profitable if you don't close deals. So finding where the business is at is so true. I had a buyer I was working with recently, and she brought it up. She's like, every one of these properties is one of the 2 big Ds, death or divorce. Yes. And it's sad to say, but that, if you've got a 2% mortgage and you're not incredibly unhappy with your home, you're probably not moving right now.
Well, I mean, it just, when I was making all my calls, end of the summer, wishing people have, I always use the holidays to reach out to my past clients. And one of the questions I would ask was, do you need anything from me? Can I advise you of any of my trusted advisors, within the contract world, estate planning, just different things depending on the client. And the shocking number of people that asked me for contractors, for they want to do an addition on their home. They want to put a pool in. So what does that tell me? It tells me people that are locked in at the lower rates are improving where they are instead of jumping to that bigger house. The other source of leads that we're working on now and cultivating. I was talking to a couple bankruptcy attorneys in my provisors group, and they said during the pandemic they were seeing on average 2 to 3 personal bankruptcies a month. They're seeing 8 to 10 cases a week, and this is a small bankruptcy attorney. So we know. I mean, let's listen to The Economist. Americans during the pandemic, everyone was living on credit.
Yeah.
What are the interest rates on those credit cards now? Okay, it's skyrocketing. So people are up against it. The difference now, Tracy, then, because buyers always ask me, I can't wait till the market crashes like it did in 2008 through 2011. Everyone has so much equity, and prices are not coming down. So unless prices start coming down, we're not going to see that wave. Yeah, you'll have some homeowners that put their heads in the sand and don't look for a way out. But when I was talking to the bankruptcy attorney, they're either going to use the home, and the equity in the home to save everything, or they're going to sell the home to start over and pay off all their debt and be at zero. It all depends at what stage of their life they're in.
Yeah, totally. And it's market dependent too on your local market. I mean, Massachusetts, we haven't seen a decline. Other parts of the country, they've seen a decline, and that pushed some people to be like, oh my God, I got to get out before I lose all the equity that's currently in this house. So we haven't had that here locally. So it is important to know your stats and see what is selling. Spend a lot of time on MLS right now. If you're a team leader, broker owner, or even an agent, checking out what is selling, what properties are selling, what price ranges are selling. So that you really have to pay attention to that stuff and figure out where do you want your deals to come from. And I always tell everyone I coach to keep this in mind. The piece of the market that you want to take is such a small piece. It doesn't matter what the percentage of sales volume has decreased in the last year. It could be 30%, it could be 40%. There's still 60% is a hell of a lot of homes in your market. It's just a question of how much are you going to go out there and find it and find what is selling and go after that, whether it's on the buying side or the selling side. It doesn't matter. There's two sides to most transactions. So it's just a matter of putting yourself in. I remember a coach saying to me once, whether you're in the business or not isn't going to matter. Nobody really cares about you all that much.
It's true.
It's whether you can put yourself in the transaction or not. That's the question. Can you put yourself inside the transaction and bring enough value that somebody feels good about it?
Well, Tracy, you mentioned an important point there, and we'll segue this a little bit into, I know something that you're passionate about and that you're having good success with, which are Facebook ads to attract buyers.
Yeah.
And a lot of people struggle with it, and they don't know which way to go. And I want to break that down based on something you just said. So my market where I am is north of Boston, the Haverhill marketplace. And in the past year, the hottest price point, in the Haverhill market has been between 500 and 600,000. There were 76 transactions there. Between 450 and 5, there were 51. So over 100 transactions in that 450 to 6 price point. So something that you just said, and you've talked to me about it, off air, off podcast, but buyers don't know how much they can afford. They don't know the big number. You've always said something that put a light bulb in my head on our Facebook ads, which is, what can they afford monthly? Okay. So it's the rent. And you've done it with some of your ads. So if you create a video ad on Facebook, and I'll let you talk about the Facebook ads in a second, but talk to your approved lender. What's a $550,000 home going to cost with today's interest rates, taxes, insurance in Haverhill? Okay. In that price point. Then you run that ad. Are you tired of paying your landlord, $2,800, $3,000 a month in rent when you could own this? So I'll let you take it with some of your Facebook ads and what you're doing.
Yeah, we'll dive into that. We're actually doing a free training on Monday at 11 a.m. for Facebook ad training. You can message either one of us or watch for the posts on the invite to that. We're going to do it. I'm going to open up my playbook on the Facebook ads and why it's working so well. But you really have to start asking yourself, in every regard of your business, is what I'm saying reaching the intended audience, and do they understand it? We just talk in too big a jargon as real estate agents. And we really have to start thinking about the fact that most buyers don't understand how to, take up what they want to pay for a monthly payment and turn it into a price range. We've had buyers that just, when you have those conversations, they're like, I want to buy like a $400,000 house. I want my mortgage payment to be around $2,000 a month. I'm sorry, but I wish those days were still here, but they're not. So we really have to think about that. You have to take, like, one of our best Facebook ads right now is for first-time homebuyers, because who would still move? Who would move in this market? Someone that's tired of their landlord, tired of the noisy neighbors, tired of yearly rent increases. We think the interest rates are bad. What's worse is getting that call every year saying your rent is going up another $200 a month. So that's a never ending upward cycle. A mortgage stays fixed for as long as you want to keep that mortgage without refinancing it. Or if you're using an ARM, yes, obviously there's some reasons it may go up, but for the most part, it's more fixed than rent will ever be. So we have to remember those things, that we think the market is bad, but for many people, it's still good because it's solving a problem. The American dream is real, and it exists for a reason. People want to come home to something that's theirs, that they feel secure in. Tell me the last time a renter felt secure long-term in the rental that they lived in. Because even if you rent a single family home, you're always having in the back of your mind, what if the seller sells that property?
Correct.
I want to add something onto this property. I can't make it more enjoyable for myself. So in this kind of market, when we talk about profitability, you really have to remind yourself of why people do things.
Correct. And Tracy, one quick thing just on affordability and rent. This morning I was at they did a presentation in Haverhill. We had a couple state senators, Barry Feingold was here talking. And one of the biggest things they were talking about was affordability in the Merrimack Valley. Okay. And this was a really, really interesting stat. Between the year 2000 and 2020. Okay. Not even taking into account the last 2 years. So they're 2 years behind on the census info. But the income during that 20-year period raised 60%. Rent has gone up 91%.
Wow.
That's crazy. Home ownership, home value has gone up 98%, in that 20-year period. And what they were saying today was, the rents, there's 2 places in the US where rents are higher than owning a home still with today's interest rates. It's the Boston market in Southern California. And that is crazy. That was from Senator Feingold this morning.
Right.
He was talking about the economy. But one thing, the topic of today's call is profitability.
Yeah.
And one thing that I want to hit on in coaching agents for so many years, agents want to do a little bit of everything. Now is not the time to do a little bit of everything. You have to pick a lane and focus on it and have a couple lanes, but not 20. Okay. So you just can't throw a couple $1,000s at Facebook and a couple thousand over here. You have to understand what you're doing with your money and knowing where your results come from.
100%. 100%. And it comes down to both your time, energy, and everything's an expense. Deciding whether you're going to go out with a buyer is an expense. So part of profitability is deciding where you want to focus your time. I do believe, and I agree with you totally, Derek, that like honing in your time on a couple different niches can produce tremendous results. But also, making sure that you're really going to love working in that section. And what is it going to cost you to produce that piece of business? This is where, like, it drives me nuts. It's actually a pet peeve of mine that, people talk about how 35% referral fee from a referral partner like OpCity or Redfin or some of these other ones that are out there, Ojo, are, outrageous at 35% because referrals cost nothing. Nothing costs nothing. Everything costs something. There's a cost of procuring and keeping that relationship. There's a cost of Facebook ads. There's a cost of everything. If it's not costing you anything up front, I think agents should be diving into those referral partners. If you look at your next year and say, you know what, part of my profit next year needs to be referral partners that are just going to give me referrals for a 35% referral fee. I'll close. My goal will be 10 of those. They'll have no upfront costs other than my driving around. I think those are great opportunities. But beyond that, if you're looking at, profitability, you have to dive into the expense side too. The expense side of what is it going to cost me to procure and close on a deal? If you're spending $500 per lead on Zillow right now, and you expect any more than a 5% conversion ratio, because we're not in a 10% conversion ratio market, in my opinion, on Zillow right now in most areas of the country, because you just don't have the inventory. Maybe you'll have that return 3 years from now on those leads you spent $500 a lead from, but not in the next year. So you could literally get 20 leads at $500 and spend $10,000 to get an $8,000 commission check. That doesn't work. Those numbers don't work. That's why we shifted and my team shifted to a lot of Facebook advertising, because we're producing leads for $15 to $20 per lead, still a 5% conversion ratio. Worst case 3, but it's costing us $400 or $500 to procure that closing. That works from a team leader perspective, and it also works from an agent perspective. From a team leader perspective, if you're charging 35 or 40% or even 50% from a team, those numbers work. Your agents can be terrible at conversion and still get something out of it and still get a return on your investment. But you can't, I don't know how a team is going to get a return on investment on Zillow spend right now or any of those other resources. To me, also, part of the reason for my team to move to Facebook is we're building a massive database. At $15 a lead, we're going to have a massive database of people that won't necessarily buy in the next year, but in the next 2 to 3 years, they'll be the ones coming out of the woodwork. Why? Because all of them have one thing in common that are registering on those ads. They're tired of renting.
Correct.
They're tired of renting. They don't want to stay there long term. They wouldn't have registered. And people will say, well, those aren't high intent. They're not, like, some of them are renters. So what? So if someone's a renter and really can't buy right now because they don't, I talked to someone the other day, all the boxes were checking until they said they haven't had a job in 2 years.
Yes.
But
Well,
I gave them the guidance and told them, in the future, if you get to this point, like, we'll have a conversation again.
So, and Tracy, one of the big myths on renting is, they're renting because they have bad credit. That couldn't be farther from the truth. If you talk to rental agents that do rentals, the rental market for the past 4 or 5 years was just as competitive as the housing market. Landlords don't want people in with bad credit. So they have good credit. Sometimes their job security was in flex. Maybe they were a younger person, or they took a short-term gig. They didn't know it was going to be long-term. So your answer is correct. So, and this goes back to picking a lane. So if you're going to run these ads and you're going to focus on renters, okay, then you're going to want to know in the area that you run the ads, what are the grant programs, okay, that these towns are offering for down payment assistance. And that's going to be a bigger piece coming in this year. And the housing authorities and what they're offering. There's someone that I want to bring on from Leader Bank in the next couple podcasts. But I don't know if you've ever heard of Section 8 to home ownership.
No.
I thought it was a myth. People said, oh yeah, if you're on Section 8, they help you to actually buy a home as well. And I didn't know that was an actual thing. There's a couple banks in the state that have partnered with the housing authority that actually transition people into home ownership from Section 8. Okay. Leader Bank's one of them. So we'll have them on a call at some point, but I found it very intriguing. So if you're going to go down that route, in whatever path you want to take to build your business, not just for the next 2 months, 3 months, but for the next year or two, you have to have a system in place to follow up with them. It'd be great to generate 300-400 leads. We know that only a certain percentage of them are going to buy now. What's your plan to stay with it and make sure that you convert those long term?
You got to have a good CRM, a constant drip campaign. You got to try to even get the phone call with them now so that you can figure out when in the future is the right follow-up opportunity with them. But also, like, just you bringing up that point reminds me of the fact that every agent, every team leader, every broker should be talking to all the lenders that they know right now. What programs are out there? What's coming down the pike? A lot of lenders are starting to open up bridge loan type products.
Correct.
I've run some ads with some really good success for, hey, let us show you how you can go and shop for your new home using the equity in your current home and make a smooth transition into your next home without a home sale contingency. That's a great opportunity. So lean on your lenders to really find the opportunities in this market. Buy down programs, understanding buy down programs are super important. It used to be that you could kind of just make the handoff to a lender and just kind of let them talk and let them do their thing. That's become harder and harder. It really has. And to the point where if you even, in my opinion, if you bring up the word pre-approval, they all just scurry. It's like dropping a stink bomb in a party. You know,
Well,
it's
again,
gonna,
it's what one of my other lenders always says. Everyone loves the idea of going to look at houses. They don't want to talk to me because that's when it gets real and it gets hard when they
Yep.
gotta, provide all their financials. Another lender that again we'll have on at another time. They have a buy now, sell later program, where you buy a new home before selling your old home. Their affiliate purchases your existing home, and you move right in, purchase a new home, and then you can sell the other one within 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so they make you almost
Yep.
like a cash buyer. So
Yep.
there's again, like Tracy said, we all have lenders we work with, but in this market, lenders get creative. Some lenders are going to go down and have a program that others won't. Okay,
All right.
so you have to make sure you diversify, and really as a trusted advisor to a buyer, it's our role to put them in the right hands of
Right.
that lender that
Right.
suits their
Right.
needs. There's not
Right.
a one box fits all for lenders in this current market.
No, there isn't. And we have to start putting ourselves in the buyer and seller's shoes. We have to start thinking about better solutions to their problems and being able to, put hooks out there or put fat points out there that get them to want to have a conversation with you to help them. Because let's look at the upsize or even the downsizers out there. Not every one of them is not making a move because of the interest rates. Some of them would make a move, but they see the perfect house come and go, and they've been told 100 times, you have no shot at getting that offer accepted unless your home's under agreement. Nobody wants to hear that. No homeowner wants to hear, like, I've got to put my house on the market in hope that someone is willing to wait for me to find the perfect home, or, have all these people traipsing through my house, get my home ready, and hope that we're going to find the right home and then it not come on the market in the next 4 months. So we have to start finding other solutions and offering those solutions out, because there are some people that would upsize. There are some people that would downsize or move closer to work or move closer to family within an area that would do it, but they're not being presented with the right opportunities. So we have to get more creative as an industry. We have to, I'm tired of even seeing the stuff like open house Saturday and Sunday, no showings before the open house, offers due Monday night at 5 p.m. It drives me nuts. I have a buyer right now that works 224s on the weekend.
Yeah.
He's getting so frustrated. He wants to make a great offer. We're not even able to get in these houses. Most of the time, they won't even let us in on Monday. It's ridiculous.
Frustrating.
Yeah. So, I mean, profitability, let's jump back into that. We've got the finding business part, analyzing what it's costing you to get that business part. That's a direct expense, but you've got indirect expenses. I think every agent, team leader, broker owner needs to be looking at their expenses right now, analyzing their bank statements. What am I spending money on? What can I dump? What's not working for me? If it's not working, it's not working. Right.
Yeah, one of my coaches in my previous life told me every single quarter, cancel your credit card, cancel your debit card, and request a new one. And I was like, why do I want to do that? That's such a hassle. And he's like, it's going to force you to look at what's on auto pay.
Yep.
And every time I do it, I mean, especially back when we in the brokerage days, I would save $400 or $500 a month on products that we just weren't using. And now more than ever, Tracy, I think it's, the company that we're with Real, allows our agents to have multiple streams of income, just not reliant on real estate. And I think that's also very important in the market that we're going forward with. So it's something that when you look at your business plan, and we have a wealth plan that the agents can use, but it puts everything into perspective on where you want to go with your business and what's important, to the agent. But on the profitability piece, it's just knowing what you're spending money on and knowing what's working. How many times do people have a subscription to a website that they haven't even opened in over a year?
Right.
I was guilty. I did it before I started, cancel my damn cards.
I was on my iPhone yesterday and went to subscriptions, and I was about to be charged $20 for a renewal after the free trial of Remini, which is an app that basically changes you into a supermodel. So I'd messed around with it. I just wanted to see what it was going to do. You know, you click on the app and you add, and you don't go through and scroll and see how much it is. And you add it, and it was about to renew and charge me $20 for a year just to make me look like some supermodel, and to the point where it's ridiculous looking. So check those things. I mean, we all have unneeded expenses in our lives, and most of the time I think it's just because we're so busy, we're so on the go, we don't pay attention to the dollars and cents, and we need to for profitability in 2024, because you could do everything right, and you could, you know, jam and work hard and focus and put more time in than ever and close more sales or the same sales, or it still could be less. You know, you could put all your effort in and it still could be less sales next year than this year. And if that's the case, what have you done on the expense side to ensure that you're running lean? You're running lean and mean. You know, from a broker owner's perspective, I saw this coming, and then you saw it coming too, soon after me. But I saw this coming and said, I don't see my future in independent brokerage, in the independent brokerage world anymore. It was a constant fight of expenses. Agents wanted more and more. I never had the agent count to get the cost per agent down like a company like Real could. And I was constantly fighting other independents offering more for less, higher splits, lower caps. It was a constant fight with a bunch of added risk on top of it. And I just said to myself, with this market coming, I will literally give myself a heart attack. So I personally decided that the right decision for me, and it's not the right decision for everyone, but for me as a team leader and an owner, was to basically offload my brokerage management and risk to Real Broker LLC. I'm still doing the same things I love doing every day, closing deals and coaching agents, but I've offloaded the risk, and I've offloaded paying agents, collecting escrow checks, managing commissions, managing paperwork. I've offloaded a lot of the technology costs that now come at a much lower cost per agent because they're doing it at a national level. I unloaded the requirement for me to have 5 different brokers licenses to cover all the areas my agents wanted to be in. And that was huge for me. Does it mean I'm still, that I'm now in a perfect place for 2024, even for what ended up happening in 2023? No, but a lot better position and able to know that I'm surviving no matter what. I mean, you and I have both made it through crazy markets before. There's a reason we're still here. For me, 16 years later. So, you know, it's a constant taking off your agent hat, taking off your assistant hat, because a lot of times we are the assistant and we are the agent, and putting on the business owner hat and looking at the business and saying, you know, is this business profitable? Am I just doing this for the ego? You know, a lot of team leaders have gotten to a place where they can't stand their team. They can't stand what they built. They built it because they want to be the biggest and baddest. They're the biggest and the baddest without any profit. You know, some of the most profitable teams out there right now are micro teams. Yeah. One agent that loves to just do business with some support staff, virtual assistants, you know, maybe maybe a transaction coordinator, probably most of the time, not even an office space, working from home, jamming, killing it, making large profits, while teams that are doing 10 times the deal aren't even making the same profit.
Yeah, it's so true. When you crunch the numbers, and talking with team leaders all over the country, it's, you know, and the biggest part is once December 31st hits, they sit there and say, how are we going to do it again? And what's it going to take? So if I heard you correctly on the last 5 minutes when you were going off there on your former life as a broker, it sounds like you have less stress, you have less overhead, and more profitable, and your quality of life went up.
100%.
And at the end of the day, whenever we talk with a new agent, why they're getting into business, what's the answer? and the answer usually is they want more freedom. They want to be able to control their schedule, and they want a better quality of life. And so many people go down the rabbit hole. I don't know, how it happens in real estate, but where they work 24/7 and they try to keep bolting on parts, to bring in more business. At the end of the day, they just keep spinning their wheels and spending money, and not looking at the bottom line of profitability.
Yeah, and you got to really know what you want to build. Every team leader has to look at, like, what is their goal? What is their personal goal? I look at teams out there, I admire the shit out of them. It doesn't mean I want to run a team like that.
Correct.
I have 2 kids in school, 2 different schools, which are 20 minutes apart. And my daughter Maisie is on the spectrum. She requires a lot of support. I have 50-50 custody of them. I can't be in a physical office from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day as a team leader. I can't. That's not the type of team I'm building. But there are other teams that are doing that, and they're attracting those people that want that. That's a whole different team. There's an opportunity for everyone to build what they want to build in this business. And the other thing that I think, to add on to what you said, agents want freedom. But I think a lot of times they think that means they can work less. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Nobody's hugely successful in real estate without putting the hours. You're going to put in the hours. When you choose to do those hours is going to be what matters. Like I still work a ton of hours every week because I enjoy what I do and I enjoy every part of my job, but it's not set hours, so I'll have a Sunday off. Sometimes I'll have a Monday off. Sometimes I'm working at night. I have support staff that can help me with showings and that work with my deals if I'm not able to be there physically. So you can build what you want in this business, but it's still going to take hard work.
Correct.
And it might take double the work this year and next year still until the rates start to drop before we'll start to get to the point where, we can, maybe not work as many hours, but I don't see any shortcut to, work smarter and harder.
Yep. No, you got to double down on the efforts that are working. And that's where it really becomes, so important this year to go back again, like I started the conversation with, and look where your business came from. Yeah. And spend your efforts on those activities.
And analyze how you got it.
Correct.
Because we're not in an order taking business anymore. We're, and actually I was going to bring this up at the beginning. We usually have a pet peeve section, but now there's a big, another buyer sided.
We can end it with a pet peeve session for the next 5 minutes.
Well, now there's a class action lawsuit with buyers coming into play. So our industry is under attack. We've been order taking for years. I'm just as guilty of it as anybody. The deals were coming so quick and so fast. We didn't have to stop. We didn't have to pause. We didn't have to have a buyer presentation. We were just taking listings without listing presentations. Those days are over. We have to provide value. The reason this is a big one. You can get leads in 100 different ways. You can network. You can do Facebook ads. You can go door to door. You can call expired. It doesn't matter. The reason you're running into people not wanting to talk to you is because you're not offering enough value. Correct. You're not showing your value. You're not giving free value. You want to dive in and hear some really good stuff. Start following Alex Hormozy and listen to his stuff and how to create massive value to get people to want to come talk to you. Correct. If you're just providing listing alerts, that's nothing. Zillow does that. They're winning at that game. It's what do you have for personalized information? What do you know about lenders that offer different programs? What do you know about buy down programs? What do you know about bridge loans? What do you know about solving complex problems in real estate? Like that's where the value comes in, not just having a real estate license.
So Tracy, real quick, George Abuha, who's watching this, said he just closed a buyer for the Section 8 conversion program from renting. So that's awesome. Congrats, George, on that one. I'll have to call you and pick your brain on that. And then Dickon said, what about the buyer side? lawsuit. I don't think he's heard about that one yet. So he wanted
I haven't had a
that real
chance to
quick?
really read into it yet, but there's, basically it's the other, I said this the other day, when
I
is it going
know.
to happen? And now it's happening, which is, I said, okay, so the sellers are going to sue saying we shouldn't be paying the buyer agency commission. And I said this, and I said, the buyers are going to now sue and say, well, really, why are we paying the seller's agent? Because
Correct.
we're the ones bringing the money to the table.
Oh my
So,
God. It's,
you
it's
know, what is the end result of all this? Some big companies lose some big money. The real
yes,
result of it is some changes to our industry that have probably been needed for a long time.
correct.
So if someone's watching this and they're not an agent, what does that mean for you? Hopefully, goddamn, it means better service. It means understanding why you should engage with an agent, why you should have a contract with an agent, what value that agent can bring to the table. And that's what's important. Because I guess the last piece of this is if both sides don't have an opportunity to have representation, shit's going to get worse.
Oh, absolutely.
You'll have even more lawsuits because now someone's mad that they didn't have an opportunity to have representation. They didn't get disclosed something. Deal closes. They find out the basement's got water. Well, who told me? No one told me. No one gave me, I didn't have a representation. Now, I was pushed to not have a representation because I didn't have the money to pay for representation.
Correct.
So now I'm the one that's screwed. Now I'm going to sue everybody. You think
Yeah.
that's, this isn't the end of anything. This is just opening a whole can of worms of lawsuits. Thank God I'm not a broker anymore.
Exactly.
Because you don't think that these aren't going to end up in small claims courts too?
Oh, exactly.
This is not just in a class action thing. This is right down to the bare bones.
Unfortunately, in this world, anyone can sue anybody, and then you just have to defend yourself, and that's the tough part. But anything to wrap this one up, Tracy, as we go into next week?
No, any more tips on profitability? For me, last tip would be look at where you're at right now. Where do you want to be in 1 year? I told agents this last year. I'll tell them the same thing. I heard this. It's not original to me. Is write a story to yourself that you will read in 1 year, describing what your year was like. That you would read 11. What is today? The 9th, 11/9/2024. You're going to read it to yourself. Write that story as if you're reading back on the year, saying, "I had an amazing year. I shifted. I changed my business model. This was our goal. We worked hard at it. We reached this goal. We sold this many homes. We attracted this many agents." Write that story, what it means to you, put emotion into it. And if there's a goal in mind, that's something that you want in 1 year, that because of that, I was able to do this. Because I was able to hit these goals, and I said I was going to hit these goals, I was able to take my family on a vacation to Disney World, or whatever it may be. But re-examine where you are and where you want to be a year from now. Oftentimes we just get stuck in the day-to-day, and we have a hard time envisioning what it's going to look like in 1 year from now. Our worlds can drastically change in 1 year.
Correct.
But it's little by little. And also I heard this from someone else recently too, is operate every day like you would when you're where you want to be. What is that person doing if your goals make $400,000 a year as a real estate agent, or you're operating a team that nets you $400,000 as a team? What is your role going to be when that happens, and start being that person today? That's my wrap up. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, again, it's knowing where you want to go and having clarity on that. And sometimes you said it, we get caught up in the day-to-day. This time of year, I always like to sit down for 2 to 3 hours and map out what I want to get out of life in the next year, 5 years, 10 years. Am I on track? Am I hitting our goals? And where do you want to go? And that's the interesting thing, Tracy, when we talk to all these different agents, everyone's circumstances are different. And that's, I think, what you and I get enjoyment out of the most is helping our agents hit their goals. And every one of their goals are different. Some have family goals, some have financial goals. A lot of it's tied into financials, and putting a plan in place with them to help them reach them has always been something I love doing. So it's just really, again, knowing what your business is, knowing where your business came from, and having more of those conversations. And that was the other big thing I think I took out of the Rise conference a few weeks back, was someone on stage. There were so many great speakers. Everything gels together. But the biggest thing when an agent is struggling in this market, my first question is, how many conversations are you having a day about real estate with people you don't know? And how many conversations are you having a day about real estate with your sphere? And when I ask them that question, you can see it on their face. They know that they're not really doing anything. So you have to take action in this market for results.
Yeah. People don't want you to just show up when they're ready to close. They want you to show up for them when they're even in the infancy stages of thinking about it. So those conversations are key. It doesn't matter. Like if you have a lot of conversations every day, you're just going to run into business.
Correct.
You're just going to run into it. You can't not. The other thing I wake up every day and say to myself is, I'm hunting today.
Yeah,
I am hunting, and I'm going to do this in a few weeks. I'm going to be a guest on one of the rocket fuels. I'm going to talk about the lion and the gazelle. You got to get up every day like a lion and know that if you're not hunting today, because you may go out every day and hunt and you're not going to get something every day. If you're a lion, you don't take the day off thinking you can go hunt tomorrow and just catch something tomorrow. You got to go out every day.
Yeah.
You got to go out every single day and hunt. If you take days off of hunting, we all need days off, but those need to be planned. You're not just getting up on a normal work day and halfway through it saying, you know what, forget it. I also focus on winning every single day. Like if I have something going bad in my day and I haven't gotten ahead and gotten some good conversations, I'm scurrying at the end of the day to find something good from that day. So I can end the day and say, I won today.
Correct.
I beat today. I won. Let's close it off on that. I'll see you guys next week. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and chat soon.
Thanks, Tracy. It was a pleasure.
All right. Good job, Derek.